What's going on? Welcome to this trunk rattle-proofing video. If you have a WRX or an STI, your car probably has developed or will develop rattles that are going to drive you nuts. So I have quite a few myself, so I decided that instead of doing one video with all of the rattle-proofing in one, which will take me forever, I'm just gonna release a video every time that I do a section. So today I'm gonna be doing this area right here under the trunk lid. And this area is notorious for rattles and vibrations that rob your system of clarity. So I'm gonna show you exactly how to get rid of all that in this video. Since this video is part of a series, I'll have other videos in the playlist with other rattle-proofing locations as I do them. So make sure that you save that playlist. I'll link to it up above and in the video description, along with all of the parts and tools and things that you're gonna need to do this yourself at home. Why do we need to rattle-proof this section right here? Well, this is why. You can clearly hear the rattles and vibrations as the bass notes hit, so that's what we're gonna be fixing in this video. You might be able to hear this from the cabin, but not necessarily. First thing we gotta do is remove this cover right here, and as you can see, it's just held in place by these 8 retaining clips. So get yourself a panel and clip removal tool or a flathead screwdriver and simply remove the cover. Once we get that removed, we have to identify the rattle points. Where's the locations that this is most likely rattling at? It's difficult to tell because when you have it up like this and you play the sub, you're not gonna really get the same exact effect as if you have it closed. So you really can't just listen for rattles when the trunk is open like this. So best we could do at this point at least is to identify the points that look like they could be rattle points, and I can see a few right away. This cable right here is leaning right against that thin metal right there. That could easily create a rattle point. You can kind of feel back here, make sure that the rest of the cables in there are not touching. Okay, if we move this way, this cable right here, it's leaning right against this metal right here, so that's another rattle point. And then the cable going this way, rattle point. If you see this little clip right here, it's leaning right against the metal, definitely creating a rattle point right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of the sound skins, which is a 3-in-1 hybrid sound deadening material. You can see it right there. And I'm simply gonna use it to decouple these cables from the metal. That way they don't have a place to rattle, since this right here is very, very soft. So rattle-proofing is a big game of improvising. The sound skins right here is what I had left over from completely treating all of my doors and sealing all the cavities and making the door more like a sub enclosure, which makes the door speaker sound 100% better. This stuff is made for this purpose, so this is a huge bonus, and the foam on it is perfect for decoupling cables and connectors. But if I didn't have that available, I would look around and see which materials could do something similar. I've used this in the past, which is the soft side of Velcro. This is great for wrapping cables and separating connectors from metal. This stuff right here is just weather stripping tape, and under some circumstances it can also be used, especially under panels that compress the foam. So the point here is that you have to look around and see what would be best for the job, and if at all possible, ensure that you're using materials that are made for automotive purposes, as they're usually much higher quality and less likely to fail. So that's what I'm going to do here. And there's another problem as well. This right here is it's like very hard plastic, which of course, if you put it back here, see, easy rattle points all over the place. I don't know why they use this, but what I'm gonna end up doing for this is I'm actually gonna use some sound skins as well on the back of this, so that when it's sitting against the metal here, it's not this hard plastic sitting against the metal, but the soft sound skins material, which is not gonna make noise. So before you put any sort of sticky material onto the metal, make sure you first clean it with alcohol, which is what I'm doing here. I'm using a microfiber towel and just going under all of the cables where I'll be putting sound decoupling material. This will remove waxes and other surface contaminants. If the area you're cleaning is especially bad, hit it up first with some soapy water, but in most cases this is enough. You can see here, I just cut a little rectangle of material and I'm gonna put it under the cable here. So now instead of the cable sitting against the hard metal, it's sitting against the soft rubber. I'm doing the same thing over here. All those points that we identified a minute ago will get some of this material. And again, the goal here is just to separate the two materials that can rattle together at the right frequencies. It's somewhat of a guessing game, but I tend to err on the side of caution, and if it looks like it could rattle, I'll just take care of it. It's worth noting that every car is different, so something that may rattle in mine might not necessarily rattle in yours. This is not a luxury car, so not a lot of attention is paid to rattle and soundproofing by Subaru. This is why it's incumbent upon us to do this if we want our performance cars to be a little bit more daily driver friendly once we take our sound systems to the next level. So let me show you what I did here with this piece before I put it back. This is, like I said, this is a loud plastic, and when this sits against the metal, it could definitely create loud rattle points. So what I did is I used some of this leftover sound deadening material that I had, and I simply went around the perimeter of the piece, and wherever this piece is touching the metal, I put some of the SoundSkins material. And if you see right here, this is actually very soft. So when that sits against the metal, it's not gonna rattle because it's very soft, like rubbery material right there. So that's all I did. I simply improvised, and because this is what I had laying around, that's what I used. But I may have used something else if I didn't have this laying around. Just an idea, because this piece definitely looks like it vibrates back there, and I didn't want that. This is not completely permanent because this material doesn't really stick very well to this, and since there's these little holes all over the place, doesn't give it a lot of surface area to stick. If you wanted to remove this in the future, you simply just, you know, peel it off, and you can do that. But since it's sitting there and it's held in place with retaining clips, then I'm not worried about it coming off. And then of course, once you flip it to the other side, you can't see any of that. And I'm about to go put this back in the car, but that's simply an idea. If you're trying to, you know, keep this piece right here from rattling inside the cabin, you might not even hear this thing rattling back there when the music is loud. But believe me, it does rob the system of clarity if you have little rattles all over the place. Once you remove them all, you can definitely tell the difference. So let me put this back and move on. So after doing all of that and putting the cover back, you can't even tell we were in there. Now the question is, did it work? Okay, mission accomplished. There are no more vibrations coming out of here. Nothing at all. So there are some coming out of the side now, right here. This panel right here is very thin. So I got to put some sound deadening material right here because this is all like a sheet of very thin metal, and that's the vibrations that you hear now. But what I just showed you over here worked perfectly. There's some vibration coming out of this side too, right here, because again, this is a very thin panel. If I can add some sound deadening material right here, that'll take away that vibration too. But as far as this area is concerned, good to go. So mission accomplished, moving on. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got something out of the video. Again, make sure that you save this playlist and check out the other videos in the playlist for other rattle proofing how-tos. I'll see you next video. Take care.